I slip out of the shower and curl up in the circle of Hieronymous's arm. He kisses me gently on the forehead as I lie down next to him. As I snuggle into his warmth, he makes a small moan of contentment as he settles back to sleep. You're back late. Or maybe he wasn't asleep at all. Hey, I whisper quietly. Sorry, did I wake you? He doesn't open his eyes, but just shakes his head back and forth. Saying goodbye to William before he heads off soon? I nod in the dark, suddenly aware that he probably couldn't see me. Yes. There's silence for a moment, and I know he's waiting for me to ask. Why did you go to the Glen without me? It wasn't a social visit, Hieronymus says simply. William wanted to know the advantages and disadvantages to joining the faculty at Iris. Professor Coleman and I were there to provide him with critical guidance. As a student of Iris Academy, it would have been inappropriate for you to listen in. That's fine, I yawn sleepily. He really is warm, and the bed is soft, and it's lulling me to sleep quickly. I just wish you had let me know beforehand. I reached out to you, Hieronymus notes, but I didn't get a response. I can't help but grumble a reply. I spent so long reading about white magic in the library today, and apparently I've gotten nowhere. Reading will only take you so far, Hieronymus says softly. You need more practical applications. Don't worry, we'll work on it. I know it's important to you. Considering the conversation I had earlier tonight, I can't just let that comment go. How do you know what's important to me? Hieronymus lets out a snort of good humor. Because I'm married to you, Tori, and believe it or not, you have suddenly become one of my most interesting topics to study. Oh, I say softly as I yawn again. Well, what have you learned about me so far? That you'd rather keep talking than get to bed when you're supposed to, Hieronymus teases as he puts his hand on my forehead. Sleep now. I want to argue, but my words all blur together as I close my eyes and immediately drift off to sleep. That night, I have dreams of classrooms and long hallways that turn into medical labs that reveal rooms filled with all sorts of otherworld creatures that I had seen in my textbooks. None of them are particularly scary, and nothing really happens, and I barely remember the dream when I wake up the next morning. William departs the day after, taking off at night when the rest of us are asleep so he doesn't have to say goodbye. Even though Virginia seems sure that he's going to come back to Iris Academy, Donald and Ellen seem less so, and I don't give my opinion. Even if he might want to come back to Iris, I don't think he will. Too much had happened with Damien for him to ever really move on from it. So, Hieronymus says as he enters the room one morning. I'm sitting on the bed with my eyes closed, practicing my white magic. It's become something of a habit that I do while Hieronymus attends faculty meetings. Considering how boring he says the meetings are, he's been taking advantage of the downtime to tutor me and practice corresponding with me across long distances. I don't seem to have any problem passing any messages to him, but then when it comes to him passing messages to me, I'm often unaware of it. Maybe I was just a bad listener? So, I repeat, I made a promise to myself that I was going to work on my communication. I was going to listen to what Hieronymus had to say before I jumped into what I wanted him to hear. Granted, I read it in a book on how to communicate better with your partner in marriage, not white magic, but I figured the same rules of good communication still applied. Are you ready to find out what your punishment is? Hieronymus asks, not altogether unkindly. I open my eyes with a start as I jump off the bed. The months of misery that you mentioned earlier? Hieronymus nods solemnly. Please tell me that you're not going to lock me in a dungeon for months on end. Hieronymus smirks as he shakes his head. I said months of misery for you, Tori, not me. I'm a bit taken aback by this. So I'm being punished, but you're not? Exactly. This makes me feel at least a little bit better. He doesn't look angry. If anything, he looks amused. Okay, that does make me feel a bit better then. Just come out with it. What's my punishment? Over the past few weeks, I am sure you know that I have been busy monitoring detention, attending to faculty duties, proctoring summer classes, keeping up with my own studies, and, of course, making sure your needs are attended to. That last one is the most important, I say earnestly, but I'm silenced with one look from him. But, as I'm sure you're unaware, he continues, there is another social obligation that has been hoisted onto me. Daniel Callister is a boy just a bit younger than you are. He is set to inherit the mantle of the wood. His parents are nobility, and they're letting Callister attend his first year here before he goes back to finish his education in his own land. Considering his noble status, I have been charged with tending to his care. I stare at him for a moment, putting two and two together for myself. You want me to be his babysitter? Hieronymous sighs as if I was oversimplifying the situation. This is extremely important, Tori. He is unfamiliar with American customs. He's had his pick of schools, but as this is the most European and the pentachromatic system of magic is most similar to his own, he has chosen to attend here. His parents personally reached out to me and asked me to watch over him. Then why are you passing him off to me? I ask as I cross my arms over my chest. Because, Hieronymous replies as bits of Professor Grabiner start to surface in the cracks of his demeanor. He is a teenage boy, and thus has decided that his knowledge is superior to mine. He will not listen to me, and I would like him to adjust to the customs here before the school year officially begins. You are closer in age, and I'm hoping you will have more success in that regard. So, what you're saying is, he's being a whiny little brat? I shift my weight from foot to foot. Even still, this seems like the wrong thing to say as I see Grabby ball his hands into fists at his side. Tori, this is serious. Callister is not his given name. It is an alias that he has chosen in order to conceal his identity. You are the one who want to learn more about European nobility, and his family is one of the most prominent in the region. He will only be attending school here for 1 year. In that time, he is to absorb as much culture and education as he can before he continues his education back at home, upon which time he will receive the full benefit of his titles. I just blink at him. Full benefit of his titles? So he's going to be a viscount too? His father wants him to take his seat in government, just like you? Hieronymous stares at me like I'm purposely being obtuse. If I am, it's most definitely not on purpose. Not quite. Okay. So he's going to be a duke? I ask, trying to figure out what other titles my brain can come up with. Try prince, Hieronymous says dryly as he rolls his eyes, and I can't help but flush. Wait, he's a prince? I demand. So his mother is a queen, and his father is a king? And he's going to come here for a year and learn all about America and stuff, and then he's going to go back there and rule over his lands or whatever? Or whatever, Hieronymous replies in that same flat, sarcastic tone, but I can't help myself from flushing crimson. I can't quite make it past the fact that one of my professors, my husband, was personally asked by the king and queen of a country to watch over their son while he was away. I pause for a moment as I remember the incident with the Manus that led to our wedding. I remember how Hieronymous wasn't there to protect me when Damien stole my memories. I remember when, most recently, Hieronymous had been seriously injured by playing around with dangerous magic. And these people wanted that man to look over their son and make sure he came to no harm? This is a big responsibility, I say at length, using my tone to try to show him that I was taking him seriously. So I wouldn't be a babysitter, but more of a cultural ambassador of sorts. And considering his parents asked you personally to watch over him, this is important because his well-being here reflects not only on Iris Academy, but on you personally, and on us as a couple. Hieronymous folds his arms over his chest and seems to settle into himself as he closes his eyes and smiles softly to himself. There's the woman I married. I blush as he refers to me as woman instead of girl. This is the first time he has addressed me that way, at least to my face. Still, I can't dwell on that now, not when I can easily recognize how important this is to him. I won't let you down. He looks up at me. I know you won't, Tori. His parents want me to write them weekly progress letters on how he is performing here. Considering the enormity of my duties compared to yours, I'll be able to get more done if you take on this responsibility as well. I stare at him again. You want me to write to a king and queen? I wouldn't even know what to write. He sighs and shakes his head. I will show you the letters that I've been sending them to give you some idea, but I will, of course, be proofreading each of the letters you send in order to filter out any, unsavory comments. I have no idea what he means by that, but it actually makes me feel a lot better. All right, thank you. Considering what I say reflects on the both of us, maybe more than it reflects on him, I really don't want to screw this up and make trouble for you. Hieronymous smiles, finally shedding his typical Grabiner expression. You never disappoint me, Tori. I hope you know that. But I am thinking of you here. Should you fall into Callister's good favor, this could open up a lot of doors for you later on. For both of us, I correct him, and he nods as he comes over to give me a swift kiss on the lips. I have to be going now, Hieronymous says. I've got another class starting soon, but I'd like you to meet Callister before noon today. I've already told him you'll be stopping by. He lives in Wolf Hall. Okay, I say, but how will I know which room is his? Use magic, Hieronymous replies with a mischievous grin, and I roll my eyes and groan as Hieronymous laughs and heads out, closing the door behind him. I pout for a moment before I cross my arms over my chest and sit down on the bed. For some reason, I have the foresight to really think this over. Daniel Callister, or whatever his real name was a prince. His parents were king and queen, and Daniel was going to inherit an entire land one day. I had to make a good first impression. I wasn't just representing me or Iris Academy, but Hieronymous, and I didn't want to let him down. I decided to shed my normal clothes and instead dress in my school uniform. Not a lot of people did over the summer, but it suddenly felt important that I do so. As I head into the bathroom to wash my face, I can't help but get a reflection of myself in the mirror. Despite this being a magical school, there weren't a lot of people with my shade of deep blue hair. I had changed it to look this way ever since my second month of school here, but now it just served as an easy way for people to identify me. Me, the girl that had married the professor with the worst reputation at the school. Me, the girl who had blown up and cursed at a teacher after an exam. Me, the girl who had allegedly attacked her roommates in the middle of the night. The girl with the blue hair was a legend at Iris Academy, but I didn't want to be a legend, and I certainly didn't want to be the subject of so many rumors. I also didn't want Daniel to immediately see my blue hair and put two and two together for himself. Maybe he already knew, but I doubted that Hieronymous would fill him in on any rumors, and I didn't want him running to his parents and telling them that the girl who lost her memories and almost died in the gym was the girl who is now partially responsible for his care. With a sigh, I touched my finger to the tip of my hair, moving it back to its original blonde. I still looked like me, but only a shadow of myself. I recognized my eyes, but even the shape of my face seemed different. I seemed older, and there was something harder in the lines in my face. I didn't think that my body had carried any physical scars from Damien's attack, but maybe those physical reminders were still there, hiding in obvious places just out of my sight. Slowly, I moved through the range of colors, from a flaming red, a dazzling orange, to a bright neon yellow. I picture what Hieronymous would say if he saw it, and just imagining his reaction makes me giggle. In a lighter mood, I move to a lime green, to a dark green, to a bright shade of turquoise, before I'm finally moved to purple. I play around with the color until it's somewhere between a lavender and a plum, twisting a few strands of blue through my ends for good measure. I stand in the mirror and stare at myself for a few minutes, turning this way and that. This was good, I decided. It wasn't blue, but Maybe I had since outgrown that shade. This color had connotations with the name, but it seemed that Hieronymous had been able to move past that now, and I couldn't keep avoiding the color just out of the chance that he might associate it with her name. Besides, purple was the color of nobility, and if I wanted to fit in with real nobility, then I had to at least try to look the part.